Okay, here we go. It's another edition of Speed Chronicles. We do it every week on the RevTV YouTube channel. I'm Todd Lewis, at Todd Lewis Sports, at RevTV, on X and on Instagram for thoughts, ideas, comments, questions, and the like. What do you think, racing world? Is there enough to talk about from this past weekend? Is there enough controversy, drama, whatever other label you want to put on it? What do you think? It was almost as if Formula One and NASCAR were having a contest to see who could have a more dysfunctional weekend this past weekend. I don't know. It's a funny time of year. I think part of it is because of the high stakes, of course. There are points and championships and millions of dollars on the line. There's a hyper focus on everything. There's a great amount of media coverage. There's social media going crazy about a whole bunch of things. And I think the other part of it is because we're so late in the season, it's a little bit of exhaustion and everybody's a little tired and a little cranky at times. I think we're at the point in the year where a bunch of people are just trying to get this thing across the finish line. A lot of time you'll hear teams, drivers, people involved with the sport, media, whoever, even and fans too. It's the grind, it's the exhaustion, and it's taking its toll, these long seasons. When people get out of racing on a full-time basis or go away and do something else, you hear it's just, I needed a break, to get off the treadmill for a while. That's kind of where we are right now. And that's sort of a feeling I think a lot of people are getting. So let's get into a few things. Formula One, first of all. How about you? I mean, this seems like it was a month ago now, but Charles Leclerc gets called to the principal's office for saying a bad word. Remember? That wasn't that long ago, but that's what happened. He gets fined 10,000 euros or something like that. Half of it gets suspended. And then there's a finger pointing exercise saying the punishment that Max Verstappen got was worse. And it's unnecessary drama. And I understand not wanting to condone profanity. Some people swear a lot, some people don't swear at all, somewhere in the middle. I can, let bad words, if you want to call them that, fly. They are words. They're profane words, if you wish. I try to keep it in check. But how about we proceed in this manner with this whole language police in terms of Formula One? If you're not directing your particular four-letter word or vulgarity or whatever you want to call it at anyone in particular, is it really that big a deal? In both instances, both Max and Charles were telling a story about their own circumstances and a word that they blurted out. And they were asked a direct question about these incidents. Now, if you don't want drivers to be forthcoming, and if you don't want them to give honest answers, and if you don't want them to say things, well, we got to go out there and give 110%, then maybe we can just move past this silliness and obsession with whether or not there was a four-letter word uttered. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of unnecessary drama, but then we've had an awful lot of that. So in Formula One, of course, the rain played havoc with the schedule. Qualifying got postponed. So did the Lewis-Hamilton tribute laps in Ayrton Senna's 1990 McLaren. We had to wait an extra day for that. Boy, was it worth the wait. Just seeing that car on the track, hearing that car, hearing that amazing crowd. It's funnily enough, I was watching this on a plane. I was on my phone on a plane watching this when this was happening. And boy, did it take me back in terms of memories. I was really just starting to get into the deep end of motorsports at that time. Senna was the guy in Formula One. And it's hard to believe that he's been gone for 30 years now. Also, something else, as I was watching this on my phone, major shout out and well done to the camera operator and the director on the telecast as Lewis Hamilton is doing the laps. There's a shot that begins on the Senna mural and then pulls out gradually and pulls back. You see the car on track coming into frame. That was beautiful. I was getting emotional watching it. It was appropriate to have tribute laps as well, run by Lewis Hamilton in the rain, holding the Brazilian flag, fist thrust up in the air. Senna was the master in the rain. And Yeah, it takes you back. Some wonderful memories, some really emotional ones too. As I was watching the race when tragically he was killed. That was that interview with Lewis Hamilton afterwards as well too. He was clearly moved by it all, and it was. I'm great that this actually took place. It was something else. The race itself, when we got to it, there were delays, there were red flags, there were whiny comments about some great driving that took place as well, because we had it all. I think Max has finally gotten fed up, and he decided, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to show off and show what I can do. I don't care what's against me. I don't care the position I'm starting in. Don't care about anything else. I'm just going to race for all I'm worth. And it worked out well. Great. It was a long shot for Lando Norris to catch him in the championships. He's not going to now. Max is going to win another championship. The constructors title, of course, is a very different championship battle. That is a three-way fight between McLaren and Ferrari and Red Bull, and it is going to come down right to the end. But how about Alpine and the incredible weekend that they had in Brazil? Congrats to both Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly for finishing on the podium. I've been talking about the Constructors' Championship for a while and saying how important it is and it's vital for the teams. They moved into sixth place overall. Estimates are that's going to be worth about $50 million to the team. That's a worthwhile weekend. That's why the Constructors' Championship is so important. Another note about the Formula One season, before we move on to the drama that has been NASCAR. I think it's worth noting Formula One's wonky schedule. Of course, they have their scheduled summer break where basically they take the month of August off. But then it's also been a bit weird that there was a 3-week break. They had 3 races on consecutive weekends, and then they've got another 3-week break. I understand that it is a worldwide series and there is travel and there is logistics and everything else that has to go with it. But I wonder about the toll it's taking on the teams, on the drivers. We had 2 drivers with illness this week. Fernando Alonso went back to Europe for treatment, didn't get there until Thursday. Drivers normally get there earlier, but he missed the Thursday media availability. And of course, Oliver Berman filled in for Kevin Magnussen, who was too ill. I think that's an indication of how taxing the season is on Formula One teams and drivers. Okay, NASCAR, Martinsville, half-mile track, final race to decide who gets to race for the Cup Championship in Phoenix. Actually, let's go back a little further to Friday, bump and run for the win. See it all the time. It's unfortunately become way too accepted. Mark Martin said it. There is no integrity in racing anymore. I was a big Mark Martin fan too. Okay, the big schmozzle on Sunday, of course, was with the race results and determining who gets into the Final Four. Christopher Bell gets cited for a safety violation. He's penalized. William Byron winds up getting the final spot. Then there's the whole conspiracy of drivers being asked and or instructed to maintain positions, allow other drivers to get by, help decide the finishing order, and ultimately who gets into the Final Four. The whole thing stinks. And in general, you know what? We have seen and heard way, way, way too much from Elton Sawyer this year. He was out spewing the word salad again after the race, saying we penalized the safety violation, then we're going to look at everything else. We're going to look at everything else. It's a bit of a self-inflicted wound with NASCAR and the way the playoffs are set up, but I don't see it changing anytime soon. Doesn't mean we can't look for ways to help and improve it, though. And there have been some suggestions, and certainly there's a lot of them that are worth looking at. But the whole manufacturer teammate thing, you work with your manufacturer teammates at super speedways. That happens. Drivers let others go by to stay on the lead lap during the middle of the season. It happens. That's not a big deal. But when you manipulate the results of the race at the end of the race to determine who is going to finish in which position and who is going to make it into the postseason dash for the championship, 1 race, 4 drivers only get the opportunity. When you're manipulating the finish like that, punishment is warranted, and severe punishment. So NASCAR has doled out a bunch of it. 6 people have been suspended: crew chiefs, spotters, and team executives. Championship points have been deducted. Big fines, couple of $100,000 for each team. Is this going to be enough to deter this from happening again? I'm not sure that it is. Lots on the line, millions of dollars, but with the playoff system, the way it is set up, it sort of motivates people to take advantage of it. Not everybody likes the playoff system, me included, the way it's set up. How do you make it better? Kevin Harvick had a suggestion. The regular season champion already automatically gets a bye into the final race to race for a championship. That's one. I don't know if it works exactly, because you could have 26 great races, 9 or 10 lousy ones, and still win a championship. I don't know that that's right. Kyle Larson has 6 wins this year. Next closest driver has 3. Kyle Larson's not racing for a championship. Does that seem equitable? Joey Logano only got in because somebody else got DQ'd. I believe he was 14th in the championship prior to the cutoff. He's going to race for a championship. Does that seem just? Does that seem right? I don't know. Here's another indicator as to maybe the system is flawed and needs to be examined and looked at. You could technically finish first in every race except the final championship race, where you could even finish second and not be the champion. Highly unlikely and damn near impossible. But it is the way the rules are situated right now. So here's the other problem with all of this, is that it has taken the focus off the championship. These penalties were doled out. There will be appeals. The news cycle is going to go for another day. You think that there might be some questions about it when teams and drivers and everybody arrives in Phoenix leading up to the championship? Yes. It takes away from it. So I think NASCAR's got some work to do in the off season in terms of how they're officiating, championship point structure. Would love to see some changes made there. I don't know. I think there's some work that can be done. In the meantime, we'll hope for a good finale for the NASCAR Cup Series and the rest of the NASCAR Touring Series as well, because Xfinity and trucks are also part of the weekend in Phoenix. And we'll come back and digest it all again a week from now. Have a great weekend of racing. Have a great week. See you back for another edition of Speed Chronicles next Wednesday.